The human vascular system is a structurally differentiated network of living tissue, pulsing and shifting in real time to meet the metabolic demands of the body. When the architecture of this network fails, the results are catastrophic. Years of structural deterioration in these vessel walls lead directly to clinical events like myocardial infarction and stroke. Mastering cardiovascular physiology requires mapping these physical structures directly to the physical forces they manage. With few exceptions, blood vessels are composed of three distinct histological layers, called tunicas, organized around a central space called a lumen. By shifting the ratio of smooth muscle to elastic fibers within those three layers, the body converts a generic tube into a high-pressure conductor, an adjustable resistor, a microscopic exchange site, or a capacitance reservoir. At the tissue level, anatomical form explicitly dictates hemodynamic function and physiological survival. This diagram shows the standard blood vessel cross-section. The vascular network is built using three primary tunics. The innermost layer is the tunica intima, featuring a simple squamous endothelium on a basal lamina to provide a smooth surface. Just outside the endothelium is a subendothelial layer, bounded by the internal elastic lamina. The middle layer, the tunica media, is typically the thickest section, composed of circular smooth muscle cells and elastic fibers. This layer dictates vascular resistance. When sympathetic nerve fibers stimulate the smooth muscle to contract, the lumen narrows in vasoconstriction. When it relaxes, the lumen widens in vasodilation, allowing more blood to flow. The outermost layer is the tunica externa, or adventitia, which anchors the vessel. Because the walls of very large vessels are so thick, they require their own dedicated microscopic blood supply, the vasa vasorum. Consider these layers. Which is responsible for actively narrowing the vessel's diameter? It is the tunica media, driven by its circular smooth muscle. These three tunics form the construction materials that the systemic circuit modifies to handle different pressures and flow requirements. Arteries are defined by their direction of flow, away from the heart. As they branch, their structural composition shifts to manage the changing pressure. The first category includes elastic or conducting arteries. These are the largest vessels, like the aorta, ranging from 1 to 2.5 centimeters in diameter. They contain a large proportion of elastic fibers distributed throughout all three tunics. Elastin allows the artery to stretch and passively recoil, but branching further out leads to muscular arteries. Here, the tunica media is proportionately thicker and packed with multiple layers of smooth muscle, while elastic fibers are sharply reduced. These vessels are highly capable of vasoconstricting and vasodilating to distribute blood, but they lack the stretch and recoil capacity of the aorta. The branches eventually terminate into arterioles. In these tiny vessels, measuring 10 micrometers to 0.3 millimeters, the tunica media is reduced to just 1 or 2 layers of circularly arranged smooth muscle cells that remain tonically active. Because they are extensively innervated by sympathetic adrenergic nerve fibers, these arterioles act as the primary resistance vessels in the body, dictating systemic blood pressure. Pathologies like arteriosclerosis degrade this architecture by hardening arterial walls. In atherosclerosis, the buildup of atherombious plaque destroys the stretch capacity while dangerously narrowing the central lumen. Conversely, if an arterial wall weakens, high internal pressure causes it to balloon into an aneurysm, creating a severe risk of rupture and hypovolemic shock. The arterial tree manages the explosive force of the heart by systematically trading elastic recoil for muscular resistance. At the capillary beds, the vascular architecture is stripped down. The tunica media and externa are absent, leaving only an 8 to 10 micrometer tube consisting of a single layer of endothelial cells and a basal lamina. Individual erythrocytes are often wider than the vessel. Red blood cells must travel through the capillary in a strict single-file line known as a rouleau. This diagram shows the three structural types of these exchange vessels, starting with continuous capillaries. They feature a complete, uninterrupted lining secured by tight junctions between the endothelial cells. This architecture limits passage to small molecules like water and ions moving through intercellular clefts, while lipid-soluble molecules passively diffuse across the cell membranes. These are found in skeletal muscle, the skin and the central nervous system. The second type are fenestrated capillaries. They maintain a continuous basement membrane, but contain pores in the endothelial cells, spanned by a diaphragm of fine fibrils. These pores permit the rapid passage of small molecules and limited amounts of protein. They are deployed in organs requiring heavy fluid transportation, such as the renal biliaruli and intestinal villi. Finally, we have sinusoidal capillaries. These feature massive 30 to 40 micrometer openings in the endothelium, and their basement membrane is highly fragmented or absent. These large structural gaps allow whole red and white blood cells and large serum proteins to enter or exit circulation. Consequently, sinusoids are located in the bone marrow, liver, and spleen. Capillary permeability is structurally hard-coded to match the metabolic demands of the surrounding tissue. Once exchange is complete, blood moves into veins, returning toward the heart. Lacking a thick tunica media, veins are highly distensible rather than contractile. They expand as blood accumulates, acting as high-volume capacitance vessels, functioning as the body's blood reservoirs. Returning blood to the heart against gravity under nearly zero pressure is a mechanical challenge. To prevent backflow, most veins are equipped with internal one-way flap valves, as seen in this diagram. If the thin venous walls in the lower limbs overstretch, these valve flaps can no longer overlap. This valvular incompetence allows blood to pool backwards, increasing local pressure and causing varicose veins. When blood flow becomes sufficiently sluggish in an incompetent vein, it is prone to clotting, a condition known as deep vein thrombosis, or DVT. If a clot breaks loose, it can travel to the lungs as a deadly pulmonary embolism. Extreme local stagnation can also cause tissue gangrene. The venous system trades muscular regulation for high-volume storage, relying on passive mechanical gates to maintain flow. Not all blood follows a simple pathway from an artery to a single capillary bed and back. The body utilizes several alternative architectural setups. Anastomoses are junctions where blood vessels directly connect. They provide critical redundancy if a primary vessel is blocked, while shunts allow blood to bypass a capillary bed entirely for temperature regulation. This flowchart illustrates a portal system. In this setup, a portal vein transports blood from one primary capillary network directly into a secondary capillary network before it returns to the heart. Two portal systems are essential for anatomy exams: the hepatic portal connecting the GI tract to the liver, and the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal, connecting the brain to the pituitary gland. These architectures ensure efficient, localized processing. The entire cardiovascular system is governed by the shifting structural proportions of the three tunicas. Heavy elastic tissue is built to capture and redirect high systolic pressure from the heart. Concentrated smooth vessel in the arterioles act as the adjustable dials controlling peripheral resistance. And stripping away all layers down to the bare endothelium is the only way to permit life-sustaining microscopic exchange. Before your next exam, test your recall. Mentally map the three tunics to their physiological functions and articulate the structural differences between capillary types. Once you can connect the architecture to the hemodynamics, you have mastered the system.